Hello everybody and welcome to the Lincoln Students' Union Elections 2021 question time. This is the question time for all candidates running for Vice President activities. How this is going to work is each candidate will be invited to give a 1-minute speech. Following that, we have prepared 2 questions with an additional question from the Board of Trustees. We also have created the opportunity for students to ask questions via Instagram. Students are able to submit questions via Instagram and Facebook throughout the live. Please ensure that these are appropriate questions for all candidates and are not manifesto specific or personal to the candidates. Each candidate will have 30 seconds to answer each of those questions. I will raise my hand like this when there is 5 seconds remaining. Please remember to keep your comments respectful if you wish to engage in the live chat. So we'll get straight onto it with the 1-minute speeches, starting with Holly.
Hi everyone, I'm Holly and I'm running to be your Vice President Activities. I'm a 3rd year sports development and coaching student, so I have a lot of passion for activities. My 3 main manifesto points are integration of sports, societies and students. So I want to help those underrepresented groups, encourage them to join activities, encourage freshers to join new activities that they might not have experienced before. And create more joint events between sports and societies by creating a big calendar that everyone can attend. I would also like to improve recognition and experience by offering qualifications to all members to gain that valuable experience that can go on CVs. I think this is really important so that we're giving you guys something back from the work and commitment that you're putting into the activities. And my last manifesto point is sport and society support. So with COVID, we really need to make sure that everyone is back in the game. Vote for me for your VPA. Thank you.
Thank you, Holly. Next up, we have Yannick.
Hi everyone, my name is Yannick. I'm a 3rd year criminology student and I'm running for VPA as well. My main pledges are to provide a post-COVID support. So this is including handbooks on how to do applications events. I want to create a sponsorship event to connect societies and sports with local businesses, as well as clear guidelines on government guidelines on social distancing and face-to-face sessions. I want to improve communication with weekly sessions, weekly drop-in sessions, and a dedicated site to promote all events, fundraisers, and matches. I want to also improve mental health awareness through mandatory committee training, as well as group sessions for societies to improve mental health awareness, as well as representation for all sports societies, which is fairer and easily distributed with funding and tailoring recognition and awards individually. And my final point, and the main thing for my entire manifesto, is to bring all sports and societies, academic as well, in one community ethos, working as a team for a new scheme. Vote, don't panic, vote for Yannick.
Thank you. And next is Emily.
Hi everyone, I'm Emily Dale. I'm running to be your VP Activities. I have 3 main manifesto points, which are accessibility, communication, and support. So I want to support PG students, international students, disabled students, and academic societies. I want clearer COVID guidelines and contingencies, as well as streamlined funding to deal with the difficult circumstances we've all found ourselves in this year. I want all representation in the Students' Union to be student focused, and I want to put the spotlight back on our activities with a better events calendar and an improved societies dashboard. In terms of why I'm the best person for the job, I'm your PGT officer for this year, so I know a lot about postgrad representation, and I've also been on committee for numerous societies like Women in Work and Guide Dogs. So I know what it's been like being a committee member this year in the pandemic. I have a lot that I want to do, so please vote for me, Emily Dale, as VP Activities.
Thank you. And finally, we have Kat.
Hi everyone, I'm Kat and I'm running to be your Vice President Activities. This is my 4th year at Lincoln, and in this time I have been lucky enough to be a coach, a president of cheerleading, an active lifestyle cluster rep, and I'm currently your sports officer, and I've also been fortunate enough to work at one of our SU venues. I've been very fortunate enough to experience everything from tour to varsity to bucks to society showcases, and I know how much I miss them. So my main focus for this year is to bring everything back This includes alumni events, fortnight of freshers, and introducing the We Are Lincoln games. So if you like what I have to say, go to the FU website and read the manifesto, and don't forget to vote CAT number 1 VPA.
Thank you very much. So we'll move on to the questions, and the person who answers the first question for each question will change each time. So question number 1 is, what would you do to promote the importance of participation and accessibility to sports, societies and academic societies? And the first person to answer is Yannick.
Hi there. So participation is going to be the most important thing, especially after the year we've had. With a new dedicated online site to promote all events, matches and sports, it will make it easier for anyone to access. We also want to, with fair representation, it gives an equal view to each society, each sport and each academic society, making it easier for people to understand which society to join in, as well as creating incentives with special events to get people involved.
Thank you. And second to answer is Emily.
I mentioned this in my manifesto. I have lots of points on how to get more disabled students involved. I want to do outreach events for postgraduate students to make sure that we're including them as well, because I know they've been hit hard by loneliness and isolation during the pandemic. Similar story with international students. I want to be running special outreach events and specifically targeting them with student-focused campaigns to get more people involved in societies. Thanks.
Thank you. And next up we have Kat.
So one of my main manifesto points is in increasing the amount of days freshers is. So instead of a week, we have a fortnight. This gives sports societies and academic societies 2 weeks to promote their activities to all freshers and second years who have unfortunately missed out this year. And this would also mean we could increase the amount of people visiting these fairs, also limiting the amount of numbers in them if people are still a bit wary about being around crowds after COVID.
Thank you. And last answer is Holly.
So a big part of my manifesto is the integration of students. So I really want to make sure that freshers and underrepresented groups are encouraged to try new sports and just get involved. I don't think there should be a limit at the start of how many you sign up to, so everyone can attend as many tasters and everything as they want to. And giving qualifications is going to help more people try out for committee roles, which is going to increase participation across the board.
Thank you very much. And question 2 is, how will you support activities groups ease back into life post-COVID, as they may have never held physical socials or events? And first to answer question 2 is Emily.
Okay, wonderful. Another one of my manifesto points is to reform the society's dashboard that all committee members have access to. I essentially want to massively streamline the process of applying for events, because I know at the moment it's kind of the story where most events will need 7 or 8 risk assessments just to get off the ground. I really want to streamline that process down, make sure there are handbooks giving you guys instructions on how to do this, and just making it a simpler process for you all along.
Thank you. And next up is Kat.
So to ease societies, sports and academic societies back into life after COVID, over the summer I was planning on doing a few workshops on how to do physical socials, fundraising, and also implement committee networking events at the start of the year, so where committees can meet to discuss fundraising ideas, social ideas, and basically just get to know each other after not seeing everyone for a year.
Thank you. Next up to answer is Holly.
So part of my manifesto is to look at improving the current dashboard and to also implement a support desk where there's going to be FAQs, any resources that are going to be really helpful. Instead of having those back and forward emails of events being rejected, let's get them approved straight away and let's get more on that calendar to attend.
Thank you. And last answer is Yannick.
As people may know, my main point of my manifesto is post-COVID support, and that includes better and improved handbooks to help support new committees and societies which have never been able to act in a normal post-COVID world, as well as hosting a sponsorship event at the beginning of the year to allow all societies, sports and academic societies to connect with local businesses, nightclubs and all that sort of thing, so they can get prepared for socials and events, as well as clear guidance on government guidelines of meeting face-to-face.
Thank you very much. For question 3, it's a question from the Chief Executive on behalf of the Board of Trustees. The funding available for clubs and societies is never enough to fund everything students want to do in sports and societies. How will you encourage clubs and societies to generate their own funds? It's quite a lengthy one, I'll just give you a second to read it on the screen. And first answer is Kat.
What a brilliant question. So as I've previously been sports officer this year, I've been lucky enough to work with the SU to produce a fundraising and sponsorship guidance, which I'd love to elaborate on. And using my experience as president of society who happened to raise £8,000 for cheerleading, I feel like I could generate some more ideas on how to enhance funds for sports societies.
Thank you. And next answer is Holly.
So I'd really like to continue working with the badge scheme that we've currently got. And I think having more badges related to fundraising is really going to help those clubs raise more money. I think a lot more resources can be made as well and put in the support desk and on the dashboard to just give lots of different ideas. And having joint events and socials between the activities is really going to increase the participation to build more fundraising.
Thank you, Holly. Next up is Yannick.
Hi there. Being on a committee for free societies, I understand the hardship of fundraising for societies. So I think providing one-to-one feedback with committee members to why they haven't received funding, or support of what they could be doing to get support in terms of fundraising events. And as I've said, I want to create a sponsorship event so to help societies connect with local businesses, and this will give them support to kickstart them into the new year. I'm hoping we're in a post-COVID world. Thank you.
Thank you. Just before we head on to the questions from social media, just a reminder that you are able to post questions in the Facebook Live if you are a student member of the union, and also on the Instagram page, so definitely check that out over there. So question number 4 is a question from social media.
Kaylee, sorry to interrupt. I haven't given my answer on this question yet.
Emily, I'm so sorry. Thank you for sharing that. Sorry, Emily.
Yes. So what this is also a part of my manifesto. I do have an emphasis on charity fundraising support, but obviously all these lessons could be put into practice for raising funds for your own society as well. I know I'm part of a charity fundraising society on the committee, and I know that the current guidance has been a little bit confusing at times. So I want to really streamline that down, promote, once again, as Holly mentioned, through the badges, and essentially work closely with committees to make sure that they understand the importance of fundraising and get all the guidance they need. Thanks.
Apologies for that, Emily. Thank you for pointing that out. So we'll now move on to our questions from social media. Question 4 is a question from Instagram, and it is, can you guarantee funding and other financial aid will still be available for activities next year? And first to answer this one is Holly.
Yes, is the simple answer to that, definitely. I think without funding and financial aid, a lot of stuff this year wouldn't have even happened. With the support of many people at the university, we will get that funding out there for you, and we'll give it as much as we can to different societies, not naming major and minor. We're just gonna, I think, support everyone as best as we possibly can to make sure that everyone can go ahead this year.
Thank you, Holly. Next is Yannick.
Yes, on the same lines, I think it's more about we will get the help and support and the funding needed for everyone, as just adapting the way we go about it, whether it will be smaller funds to get people kick-started, to get ready, and looking at ways of why they're struggling or why they need the funding, whether there's other ways about it, and actually supporting them one-to-one rather than just generic handbooks or quick feedback on an application for funding.
Thank you, Yannick. Next is Emily.
Yep. One of the things that I really wanted to focus on was streamlining this funding process. So the simple answer, once again, is yes, it will definitely be available. But I want to make sure that if you need funds for a specific event, or you've been unsure about when your society or your sport will be able to start up again due to the government guidance, you're able to get the funds in time for when you need them. That's my main focus.
Thank you. And next is Kat.
So obviously, as everyone can tell after this year, nothing is 100% guaranteed. But if I was VPA, I would dedicate my summer working with both the SU venues and businesses in and around Lincoln on how to fund sports societies and academic societies, whether this is forming sponsorship deals, whether this is getting free training space, in some way or another. All sports societies and ACSOCs will be supported and funded enough to run.
Thank you, Kat. We'll move on to question 5, which is a question from Facebook. How do you plan on ensuring that the work and dedication that goes into running societies is acknowledged and rewarded? And for question 5, we'll start with Yannick.
So one of my points is that I actually want to change the way we recognise and award societies and sports and everything, because I think they misunderstand the individual society and sports and what they actually do and want to accomplish. And it doesn't matter what size you are or what competitions you're part of, or whether it's social or whether it's a competitive nature. It's tailoring those recognition awards and those supports individually rather than as a whole, but also understanding that whole, we want to bring everyone work together, but also understanding their individual characteristics.
Thank you. Next to answer is Emily.
Thank you. I keep saying this is in my manifesto. There's a lot in my manifesto, but one of the main points that I have is student-focused representation. I really want to make sure that you guys are getting credit for the work that you're doing, whether that's sharing your images and your events all over the official SU media and making sure that you are basically getting out there, or reforming the events calendar so that your events are front and center on the SU website and you're getting the exposure that you deserve. Thanks.
Thank you. Next answer is Kat.
So I'm pretty sure that every other candidate here knows how hard it is to actually run a sports society and academic society and how much effort actually goes in. And it does feel like sometimes you don't get recognised. So I'd love to implement some kind of social or networking event that was basically just a well done a few times a year, just to say well done for running societies. This could be either a games night, a pub crawl, even just a coffee morning, just so everyone can relax and have a breathe.
Thank you. And finally, Holly.
So this is one of the biggest points for my manifesto. So I think giving qualifications and letting people earn qualifications that are going to be CV worthy is really important. And also, as well as having sport and society of the week, let's get some individual recognition in there, and let's get sports person, society person of the week, of the month, and let's really target those individuals that are putting a lot of dedication into the systems.
Thank you. Question 6 is another question from Facebook, and the question is, how will you increase the sense of a shared community at Lincoln between sports societies and academic societies? And first to answer this one is Emily.
I think there's already been some excellent suggestions from Kat here. Essentially, I want to make sure that we continue the work that's already in progress. I know that recently all the presidents of societies have been added into group chats in their clusters so that we can try and increase socialization within the clusters. I want to expand that out. I want to start doing more events with more society committees to try and increase this sense of collaboration and this networking that we can build between all sports societies and academic societies at Lincoln. Thanks.
Thank you. Next to answer is Kat.
As well as shared socials, shared events, one of my main points in my manifesto is to develop an internal sports league. This will be between sports societies and academic societies, where people can enter their own team, and every week for an hour everyone just gets together, has a bit of fun, make a fool of themselves and just make some good friends and good memories for the year.
Thank you. Next answer is Holly.
So I'd really like to create a big calendar where all sports societies and academic societies can add their events, their fixtures, their socials, fundraisers. So it's accessible for all students at the university. You can get tickets through the links that are really easy, so that numbers at these events can really increase and improve the quality of these events that are happening and bring like-minded people together, really.
Thank you, Holly. And last answer is Yannick.
There are many ways which to go about it, but the main point of my manifesto is a new scheme which will allow any sports society to host an event and allow any other sports society to come along, whether it be a fun sporting event, whether it's to educate or whether it's to do performance. This way it allows any academic society or sports to work together to educate and to have fun and have that community spirit between everyone.
Thank you. Question number 7 is another question from Facebook, and it is, what are your plans to work on including disabled students in activities? And the first person to answer this is Kat.
So I think the first thing to do for this point is to actually speak to disabled students, whether that's physical, mental or invisible disabilities, hold focus groups, do one-to-one sessions onto what we can offer. Because at the end of the day, I could sit here and tell you what I'm going to do, but if I don't know what students want, then I can't really do it. So I think the main thing is communication between students as to what they actually need.
Thank you. Next to answer is Holly.
So yeah, with disabled students, I think collating feedback is going to be the most important aspect, but also making sure that we're training sports societies and academic societies to be inclusive as possible, with no segregation. I know we used to hold inclusive workshops, so let's increase those even more and make sure that everybody feels encouraged and welcome to enter any sport or society that they wish to.
Thank you. Next to answer is Yannick.
Yes, I second what the other candidates have said and work with the disabilities officer to understand what people want and listen to the feedback, as well as with stuff like mental health awareness, providing other training such as disability training of understanding and how to approach it and what we can do to make it accessible for everyone, no matter what people are struggling with at that point in time.
Thank you. And next answer is Emily.
Yep. One of my main manifesto points is that I would like to provide disability awareness training for all societies and sports so that they aren't accidentally leaving their members behind through not knowing. I would work with the disability officers and the other disabilities network to produce this training. And I would also very much focus on the amazing work that's already been done in the focus groups lately with the Students' Union. I know we've already got some great feedback and I want to really work on putting that into practice.
Thank you very much. Question number 8 is another question from Facebook, and it is, this year has been really hard to maintain membership numbers. How will you tackle this going ahead? And the first person to answer is Holly.
So I think in Freshers Week, it's going to be really important to not only target the undergraduate freshers, but the postgraduate freshers and all students that are going to be at those events. And I think really encouraging people to sign up to as many activities as they possibly can, and really promoting the taster sessions on the big calendar so that more participation can happen and membership will increase.
Thank you. Next to answer is Yannick.
I would say with a dedicated site to promote all events, it will allow everyone to access it, as well as fairly promoting every sport, society and academic, so everyone can see what's happening. And like Holly has just said, we've a lot of first year students went to participate in societies this year because of what's happened to COVID. So targeting them with the big new what's the word? Societies Freshers Week, so they can see what's in Lincoln and what they can join.
Thank you. Next to answer is Emily.
Yep. One of the points in my manifesto is COVID contingency plans. I think a lot of the issues with maintaining membership this year is because societies have had to adapt suddenly to these changing COVID restrictions, and members just haven't felt that they were really getting their money's worth. So I want to make sure that you guys are still able to put on the events you want to do despite the situation. I also want to focus on Teams proficiency courses so that if we do have to go all online, you're still able to provide a great experience and your members will still want to attend. Thanks.
Thank you, Emily. And last to answer this question is Kat.
So another brilliant question. Obviously, my manifesto point includes Freshers Fortnight, which gives another week for sports societies and ATSOCs to advertise and bring in their members. Another point that I wanted to work with is helping the university promote SU Freshers Week and SU activities and sports, because currently they do not offer a lot of information on what the SU actually offer activities wise. So working with the university to form a partnership to advertise.
Thank you. And we now move on to our final question, which is another question from Facebook. And the question is, finance has always been a massive struggle and stressing point for some sports and societies committees. Strategically, how do you plan to resolve this? And first person to answer is Yannick.
So not only are we going to help with one-to-one support for how to finance your own and fundraise for your own society and sport, but it's also about adapting the way we provide funding, whether it will be smaller pots of money and actually understanding each sports society for their own needs, rather than based on their size or what competitions they're participating in, and make it fair and distributed for everyone. And I think that's a key point a lot of people have said, is that we want everyone to have the same opportunities and access, and that's one of my biggest aims, is fairer representation.
Thank you, Yannick. And next candidate is Emily.
Yeah, pretty much echoing what Yannick said. I don't want you guys as a committee to ever be stressing about not being able to afford something that you really want to provide for your members. It's a stressful enough job already. So I do really want to work on streamlining the funding and offering more when you need it, so that not only are we providing the support with fundraising your own funds, but if there is something you need immediately, you are able to get help from the Students' Union. Thanks.
So as it's been mentioned before, I think the main priority is working on fundraising and sponsorship for all activities, and this could include having one-to-one meetings with the societies to tailor a specific funding, sponsorship and fundraising plan with them that they could have like key points on through the year, so that if they've got a certain deadline for the amount of money that they need, they know exactly what they need to do before that date, so that they can acquire them.
Thank you, Kat. Next up to answer is Holly.
So I think sustainability is a big thing here. So rather than having, let's say, 3 points where we're gonna give a large sum of money, let's make it 6 or 9 and give you smaller amounts so that you can use it as appropriate as possible. And let's just keep working on a case-by-case basis and making sure that you always feel supported within your financial difficulties.
Thank you very much, Holly. And that concludes the question time for Vice President Activities. So thank you very much to our candidates that were here today, and to all of you for watching at home, and thank you for asking questions and answering questions. You have until 2 p.m. this Friday, the 19th of March, to cast your vote. Please head to www.lincolnsu.com to read the manifestos and make your voices heard. Thank you.